Hey listeners, powered up by Mazer Group, this is the Turnin Dirt Podcast. I'm your host, John Mazer. Chris and Ryan, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. For those listeners out there, just so you know, Ryan and Chris are the brains behind AdSpark, who is currently the brainchild, or part of the brainchild, I guess, for the podcast itself. I'm hoping to see more of them in the future with Mazer Group as a whole. Working on that right now, but yeah, very exciting stuff. So thank you very much for coming, guys. You're a marketing agency based here in Regina. How long have you been in business?
15 years. This is actually year 15. We started in 2009.
Really? Let's go back to 2009 then. Like, how did you guys meet up and like, give me a story?
Yeah. So 2008, Chris and I were both working at an agency called Urban Roots Media. That's where we met. We met a lot of the people we still work with there actually too, like Scott, our third partner in AdSpark, was involved there, and some of Chris's friends and network as well. But that was 2008. We met, we worked there, and we sat down one day and said, I think we think we can do this better. Right. So we sat down with another gentleman at the time, Jay, and the three of us came up with the brainchild for AdSpark, and we kicked it off in September 09, I think. Humble beginnings. We started working in Chris's parents' basement. So
really?
Shout out to Steve and Muffy for letting us do that. We worked out of there for maybe half a year.
Yeah, and then I think we went to your house for a bit there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Then I had a house in Douglas Park, and so we kind of worked out of there for a little while. And then we finally got our first office in probably 2010, maybe 2011.
So you're a year and a bit down the road?
Yeah. Got a small office on Victoria Avenue East, and worked out of there, and the time's flown by. It's kind of crazy.
It's crazy, yeah. So you're in 15 years, I guess, this year you were saying, yeah. So who served the best lunch?
Oh, at our parents' house, respectively?
Yeah.
I think probably at my parents' house, I'd say, hey, like, my dad's a pretty good cook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the place, our office at my house was in Douglas Park. It was like a bachelor pad. I was living there with a buddy, so it was probably...
So you had a microwave and a bar fridge is what you're saying.
It was probably pizza.
Remember that time when we assembled that barbecue and we got in a big argument? That was almost the collapse of our company, but luckily we got through that.
That's the first and last time I've ever assembled a barbecue, and I swear I'll never do that again. Yeah. It was total shit.
Oh my God. So 2009, aside from barbecues and lunches, like we're going back, like I'm thinking I was still in a BlackBerry at that point. So, you guys, I'm not sure what you were using, but where I'm going with this is how much has changed. And I mean, how much your probably business model has changed from what your the avenues that you're marketing with.
Sure.
So starting off like in 2009, approaching businesses with marketing strategies, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the record, I was on a BlackBerry Bold.
Yeah.
Really? I was on a Storm. Like I was trying to get ready for the iPhone because back in Manitoba, like MTS, if you weren't on, it was TELUS. It wasn't TELUS. It was something else. Rogers. If you weren't on Rogers, MTS could not get the iPhone for whatever reason.
That was same with us here.
Yeah. It was a SIM card thing or whatever. So like the Storm was the closest thing too.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty badass with the BlackBerry Storm.
Yeah.
Well, so at that time, social media was just starting to blossom.
Yeah,
right.
That's kind of why we left the company we were at. There wasn't enough emphasis on that, so we definitely dove into social media. But it was hard to just explain what it was at the time.
Right.
Nobody really got it. And I remember we were meeting with clients, and they're just explaining that was half the process of like, all these people meet online and they share stuff, and you should share stuff too. And they're like, well, we love the newspaper. Yeah, we're sticking with that.
Yes.
And so it was an uphill battle first, and then all of a sudden around like 2012, then that's kind of when things kicked into gear and people started diverting budgets towards social media quite a bit more. Now it's like 70-30, I'd say. So yeah.
Is there any more, like, I mean, obviously there's print media happening still, but like, do you guys deal much in newspapers anymore?
It still exists and people do use it. It's almost non-existent for our clients. I mean, for a lot of years, we actually tried to convince people to switch, in certain instances. And of course it's budget, dependent, but to switch or try the non-traditional stuff like, Facebook ads, Google search, that sort of thing. Right.
Yep.
And it was a bit of an uphill battle because it's just been ingrained in them to be like, television, radio, newspaper, that type of stuff, which has its place, of course. But
we'll still do like the odd like niche, I would say, magazine.
Sure.
I think that still makes a lot of sense because you kind of know what audience you're dealing with, and usually the price reflects that. But that's about as far into print we'll go, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the clients come to us now and say, we just canceled our radio campaign. Can you help us with Google search? So
Really?
It's turned.
Yeah.
It's turned in the past handful of years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm assuming you're getting that, not a handful of customers, but like a broad width of customers that are in that kind of specific time frame, if you will. Like they did a lot of print media, they did a lot of the basics, as you said, Ryan, like, you know, the radio, TV ads, but like aren't really versed in the social media stuff, in the online stuff. So that would definitely be a benefit to the ever-changing marketing world, I guess, in your instances. So I remember you walking in here in 2019. Can you even believe that? You're a very special guy, Ryan. But I remember you walking into my office. We had this look at each other like we'd known each other for a while. But we sat down, we started talking. Now, I'm assuming you got the plug from one of our friends, Jordan, like that just we had moved to town. But obviously your businesses are across all industries. But I want to get into the agriculture side of stuff. Agriculture in its own, never mind just us as an equipment manufacturer dealer, but even in farming has farms have come a long way from your mom and pa, 4,000 or 5,000 acre operation to a corporate farm, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100,000 acre farms. How do you guys, did you have to realign any business model or strategy for AdSpark and to penetrate that, or was it just a natural fit for what you're doing right now?
Sure. Yeah, I think it was kind of a mix of both,
yeah.
If I'm honest. I think, just kind of being geographically in Regina, in the heart of the prairies, I think we have a pretty good understanding of what farm and ag is, I guess, compared to, somebody in Toronto. We understand the cycle, so that it naturally led us to be, players in this industry. But speaking to your point about how, farms have changed over the years, we've had to definitely adapt how we change our goals for our clients. So before it used to be, kind of getting their name out there and making impression. Now there's a big emphasis, for example, on human resources. These farms are growing at rapid paces, and they have a lot of seasonality to them. So they need to attract, short-term labor and long-term labor. So because of that, that's been a big point of emphasis for a lot of our clients. Mm-hmm. And that means building brands that, people want to work for. So there's been a lot of change over the last, I'd say 10 years for sure, definitely in farm and ag in terms of marketing. Yeah.
So I can echo those points to you, Chris, in the dealership world. Like, I mean, it's we're always looking for good people, and I mean, skilled labor is very hard to find, especially in an industry such as ours, where it typically has to be focused, on machinery and that sort of thing. So when these clients come, and when you, like, I know you've got a couple of big corporate farm clients on your roster, maybe just add to what you were saying there, Chris, about what is their focus when they come to you for a marketing strategy, marketing tips, that sort of thing? Are they creating a brand and want to get just their farm out there? Is it more for an educational purposes? Is it for HR and attracting new people? I'm assuming it's all of the above.
Yeah, it is really holistic. That's for sure. I think, with a lot of our clients, we're dealing with generational farmers. So people that have been in the business their entire lives. And now we're dealing with this next generation that not only understands how to farm and how to grow their farm, but they also understand the importance of their brand as a farm. So that bleeds not only into obviously what we discussed before, which is the HR component, but it also bleeds into markets they're potentially reaching and new customers they could potentially have. So they understand that holistically they need to put together a good product, and that doesn't just mean they need to put together good outputs. They also need to put together a product that is a brand. So they trust us to do that.
Yeah. And working with some great people, obviously. I mean, we got the best farmers in the world here in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. I have to put a plug because we're all over the prairie provinces here. So that's exciting stuff, guys. I hope that, it is coming. I keep putting plugs in that we're going to work more together through Mazer Group, but I have to say, I'm going to put a plug for the two of you in right now, and producer Jay, that the work you've done with AdSpark is incredible. Like, I mean, so we really started this from scratch. I remember the first episode here, and I'm just so excited. Here we are a year down the road and how far it's come. So thank you.
Yeah, no, we were here. I haven't been here for a while. I've kind of been behind the scenes, and seeing the studio it looks great. Like I think you guys did a great job here of putting together a good product.
I always want to come in and play with the toys, and so do my kids. But yeah, like, I mean, it's very unique. It's I think it gets the point across of what we're trying to do here. But yeah, just going back to what we were talking about, educational aspect of farming is what we want to get into. Is teaching the public what farming's all about, what it takes to be a farmer, what it takes to be a dealer, that sort of thing. So. Yeah.
Ryan, I got a question for you. So your role in the business is kind of business development and a lot of client relations, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So when you go and approach a client, what kind of barriers do you have to overcome, or what do you notice from clients that is a trend that you have to kind of overcome trying to get that client? Or
I would say a big one would be a lot of clients want to be, especially smaller businesses, want to be more hands-on and do it themselves. And with the tools out there these days, they can do that, right? There's a lot of tools out there for, managing your social media or, doing design work and that sort of thing. But, at the end of the day, there's only so much time in a day. And if you're running a business, big or small, you're wearing many hats, and, you've got a limited amount of hours in a day, right? So I think delegation to me is a big one. You want your business to put their best face forward, and hiring a company like ours, that's what you're getting from us, right? It's not that you can't do it yourself, but you want it to be ultra professional and done properly and on time and on brand always. And so that's, I think, the big thing is for some of those business owners is letting that go, letting their baby go, right?
Mm. It's a really good point. Because I mean, like, there's avenues, I think, in our marketing and in Mazer Group's marketing per se, that we really never would have thought to take, I know, having said social media is a big one. We do have a social media presence, but everything can always be better, right? So I think, with what you've done with the podcast really speaks to that. Talking more about, I want to dive into social media a little bit. I know creating a brand for a farmer is very important to, and I think, to use your words, Chris, is, to create that brand for the HR aspect, to create that brand for output or for what they're producing, that sort of thing. What kind of things are you doing as far as social media goes in order to build those things? Like, we were just talking outside, producer Jay and I, that, visuals are a huge thing, especially with your phones these days. Like, I mean, you do reels, you do anything from reels to, I guess TikTok is the same thing, but little snip videos to documentaries to anything like that. So what are kind of the big kind of focal points of visuals are you focusing on for?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a moving target. There's so much change and so rapid change on social media across all the platforms. So we're always trying to keep a pulse on what's kind of coming next. Obviously, video is, I think, becoming more and more important. But I think the next logical step for everybody, and the biggest hot word right now, is AI. So how can we leverage that for our clients, especially in a social media atmosphere, to not only increase the value of and the perception of their content, but also the speed in which we can produce it. So AI is definitely stepping in to help us as a tool. But I think we have to watch where we're going with that, because in a lot of circumstances, I think people like the idea of AI right now, and it's looking good. But I think if you're looking at a 5 year down the line, I think people are going to find AI to be a little bit disingenuous. Yeah. So using those tools is important, but not relying on them as a crutch, I think, is going to be a challenge for every company in the next couple of years. Yeah.
Is there any aspects of your business that, like, you're utilizing AI for any reason right now?
Oh yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we go into that a little bit, or is that like, I don't want to spill any AdSpark secrets, but like, I mean, just to give you an example, like Mazer Group is utilizing AI right now. Where our last guest, Brock Moyer from AgVisor Pro, they're building a platform for Mazer Group. It's not customer facing. Hopefully will be one day for a subscription price, but for now it's just internal facing. And what they've done is they've uploaded parts, service, operating manuals for all of our equipment. So those questions that come in from customers, we can ask now this platform, and it will pull it will pull from those ops manuals what the best answer is. Now, there's a long way to go and long way we can go, a lot of runway in front of us if we want to upload work order information. And that's kind of our service history on not just a specific unit, but anybody that's worked on, say, that specific piece a customer is calling on. We can look into our work orders and see what a mechanic said about how they fixed it, right? So again, a little further down the road, but I mean, did we think we were going to get AI at any point? No, but here we are. So, so what's AdSpark doing?
Oh
with
man,
AI?
lots, like everything from video to cutting up reels. Every once in a while, we'll run it through a system called, is it Opal, Jim? It's Opal.
Opus.
Right? Opus.
Opus
Yeah,
Clip.
yeah. It's it basically takes snippets of this podcast, for example, and kind of finds the more interesting parts, and it'll snip it into like a 10-second reel, for example. Now,
Really?
Yeah. Now that needs some oversight, obviously.
Sure.
Like it's still in the working phases, but that does save time. It also interlays voice to text over top of the reel as well. So, not to give you too much detail on how the stuff's cooked, but it definitely does help save time. Like, as short as like a year ago, we didn't have this tool, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So we're using that, and that's sort of like a high level view. And then even things from like, I do a lot of database work because I still have my toes wet in website development. So I'll use like database software to run some, like, if you're an Excel geek, you can write formulas that are super long.
Yep.
I can just say, can you please do this? And it'll like automatically formulate a formula for me. I'll pop it in there and save me hours.
Yeah.
So there's AIs. It's in every day I use it, but it's whether it's specifically for marketing output is a little different, but just in day-to-day tasks, it's every day.
Yeah. Well, it's huge that you just said about, like, for instance, taking this episode of the podcast, and like, I had no idea that AI can generate, like question and answer out of that and be able to put it into. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you dabble in it at all?
I mean, I think just by default, a lot of the software platforms that we use utilize AI, and so yeah, absolutely, every week for sure.
Yeah. Have you ever played around with like Chat GPT?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I always get the letters mixed up.
I've used it quite a few times. It's pretty interesting. I enjoy it. It's definitely a wild tool.
Well, I mean, we can go down a rabbit hole with it, but I mean, like, it's crazy the questions you can ask it, and it generates like, how to make my wife happy.
Yeah.
It
didn't have the answer for that, did it?
John. It ain't working.
Oh shit.
You know what? I use ChatGPT a lot, and I'm a little bit of a late adopter with technology. I'll openly admit it. Like, I'm not a true believer right away. I still think there's a human factor that really needs to be taken into consideration this day and age with AI.
Yeah.
We could talk about chopping up videos. We could talk about, make me a vision for this company. But you read it, and I still put it up against what Chris has written, what I've written, what Ryan's written. And to this day, I still think what we come up with is superior to what that comes up with.
100%.
So it is a bit of a balance of like time versus output.
Yeah.
But what I do like about it is, like, if I'm stuck on something creatively, put it in there. It might inspire me to use my human talent by sparking something. Or I take what I've written and I put it in there and I say, did I miss any, like, this isn't the language I use, but you're asking it, what did I miss in this?
Right.
Or, is there any clear mistakes in this? And clean stuff up, saves a little bit of time, but there's still a human factor that now
100%.
has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people are going to start to be able to recognize it a lot sooner.
Oh, yeah.
Too. Like, I like whenever I see posts online, I'm like, that was AI. You didn't even try. So like, there's, like, if you ever see a lot of posts with a lot of emojis and a lot of like a certain keywords like that, somebody wrote that with AI. And that's not the bad thing, but I think people are going to be like, I don't really trust that.
They're being able to pick it out from one another. Well, I like the term you use there. Like, I mean, there always has to be, because I've been saying for a while, when it comes to autonomy for farming, and like, I mean, that the tractors will eventually drive themselves, and you'll just be working out of it. There'll always be a human aspect to it. I mean, there's so many variables in a combine. Like, I mean, Alex, that was on I think he was episode 6. He's our director of parts and service for our Saskatchewan locations. But I asked him the same question about AI, and he thinks and autonomy is, but he thinks it's coming. Because my thing with combining and being a combine operator at a young age, like, when we come up to what we call a beaver hut, like when you swath canola, put it into swaths for the combine to pick up, and you get a bad wind, it will roll. It will literally roll up. The swath will roll up into a ball, almost like a cinnamon roll. And like, it's how you feed that, because I mean, you put the whole thing in and it's going to plug the combine, right? So, and they're called beaver huts, or the funny term for them is beaver huts, the candid term anyway. But how I guess you could teach a model in order and like how you would approach that, or like, I mean, as soon as it sees via cameras, okay, I got to slow down for this, that sort of thing. So yeah, human aspect though, there'll always be there. Yeah. So with the clients that you have on from an agriculture standpoint here, you have got some companies, you've got some customers, or our customers anyway, they're all your customers, but what do you find is the funnest part of it? Like is funnest a word? Funnest is a word, right?
Most fun, whatever.
Yeah. Most fun. There we go. Most fun part of dealing with agriculture customers.
So like from my perspective, I think like in advertising, all we really are is storytellers, right? We're there to tell the brand story. And I think with farm and ag specifically, it's an old industry, right? It's been around, for millennia, since people basically learned how to garden, right?
Yep.
So with a lot of our clients, they've been around for centuries and decades.
Yep.
So they have a lot of legacy that we can lean on from stories. And then you contrast that with, they also have really innovative and smart, bright futures. So we can really build dynamic messages that kind of play off of both. This is where we came from, and this is where we're going. And I find that really easy to work with personally.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. A good example of that is that mural we did for one of our producer clients.
Yeah.
Where we had old black and white photos from the late 1800s.
Yeah.
With more modern photos of the past 5 years. And we did like a collage in their office when you walk in.
Yeah.
And it just looks unbelievable. It's such a talking piece for people that go to their office, and it still gets brought up to us to this day.
Yeah.
And that kind of speaks to what Chris is talking about legacy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, it's a one true generational business that families are in. And I mean, especially in Saskatchewan, like, I mean, homesteading here in the late 1800s, like, I mean, we're talking 120, 130 years. And I mean, the same families are still farming the same.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy to think about, but it's so awesome. And to see, like, I mean, from an equipment dealer standpoint, the change in equipment, even in my lifetime, like, I mean, not autonomous yet, but I mean, like a field guidance systems, that sort of thing. I mean, the things they're doing with this stuff now, I'm going to say that farming is sexy now. It wasn't sexy before, but it is now. Like, I mean, we've got combines that, I mean, they're 5-star luxury hotels in the cab, buddy seats and coolers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Sure. What, are you guys well-versed in agriculture at all? Like, I mean, you don't have to be. With your line of work, it's exactly what you said, Chris. It's telling a story, getting some history in the background about what you're telling the story about. But do you have any farming experience?
No. My father-in-law was a farmer,
yeah.
and that's about as far as I go in terms of that. But they're from a small town, so I soak up some of that a little bit. Like a lot of my wife's friends, they're from the Strasbourg area, so I'll hang out with them. And like over the years, they've come to me and said, like, it's kind of like you're almost a farmer, but just a really bad one. Whenever I talk to them about farming, so I just because I pick up on what you guys talk about all the time, so
it's kind of like me. Kind of like me.
That's about as good as I can get. So I wouldn't say I'm super versed. I would definitely say I'm not even a novice, but living here, you kind of pick up.
You
on
pick
a couple
up.
things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my family, we still have a farm. My extended family still operates a farm outside of Craik.
Nice.
To this day. So I grew up in the city, but my dad spent a lot of time out at the farm and whatnot. So it's it's in my background for sure.
Nice.
I've been known to check a few depths in my tomato garden.
Nice.
So, but
used a finger. You actually get a ruler out.
But just from working, in the marketing stuff with producers and companies like Mazer Group, you learn quick, and so far from an expert, but I can probably hold my own in a conversation.
Like, we know not to go on vacation this time of year.
Yes,
it's too busy. Like, we know that, right?
That's good. Yeah. That's like the first thing you need to know is that, like, it's crunch time, and it's crazy that it started. Here we are a couple days into May, but like, we had customers sowing their fields middle of April there. Yeah. Everybody got hot and horny and ready to go. Like, I mean, and then we had that snowfall, so everybody stopped. But like, I believe you're going to see some combining in July this year, which is crazy. It's wild, Oh, it's crazy. It's a staggered start for us though as a dealer, which is really good. And everybody doesn't start at once. The customers that start a little later is that they'll get combining a little later. So the people that start a little early, they get started first. So no, it's good. So from your agriculture customer base, I know we tipped on what they want to see out of AdSpark and the strategy. I want to talk a little bit about education, because then that's kind of what we're focusing on, or one of the focuses with Turning Dirt is just educating the public on what farming is. Do they, is there an aspect of that the customers are interested in it?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'd say a lot of it is advocating for the importance of farming and the importance of things like soil health and regenerative ag. That's a big part of our education, and explaining why certain farming practices leave the earth better than they were otherwise, right? So that's an important part of it too. And then of course educating on equipment and stuff like that, for example, for you guys and for some of our manufacturers is really important as well.
Yeah. I know, from an education standpoint, like it's not about, for us anyways, Mazer, it's not about so much as what the piece of equipment does, like what the combine does, what a tractor does, what it pulls and why, but also a little bit of competitive education. You know, like there was, I think I sent you guys a snippet from a podcast called Barn Talk. Yep. They had a guest on there talking about equipment, and he got into the X9, which is John Deere's new twin rotor combine. And he said that the X9, or that after he's mentioned the X9, that New Holland New Holland CR.11 and cases AF11 were released to curb the sales of the X9. So my mind immediately blew up on the spot and going, like, does this idiot know we've been doing twin rotor stuff for 50 years? And John Deere just put one out and literally said, by putting that piece of equipment out, New Holland's been doing it right for 50 years, and we need to catch up. So that's where I want to go with it, is education on, the comparative brands, that sort of thing. And I love telling that story, because like you guys got to think, like, they've been selling against us up until now. Like, I mean, they've been selling against a twin rotor, and now they release a twin rotor,
Yeah, it's funny.
It's very counterintuitive when you think of it that way. So
yeah, it's funny coming from Big Green. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think anytime anybody's making a massive investment, like buying a combine, I think, or anything, like education is going to be massive.
Huge.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and the amount of dollars it is now, like, guys, like, combines are $1 million, these big 4-wheel drives are coming out that are, they're tipping on them, and like, you're buying a house, and, some of our customers got 18 of them, just for one season. Right. So, I mean, it's, it is really something. Jim, you got anything you want to ask these gentlemen?
Well, I mean, the thing I've noticed from being on the podcast is that the farming community in Saskatchewan seems a little humble.
Yeah.
And there is a part of marketing that goes counter to that feeling of being humble. So, like, Ryan, like, from you dealing with a lot of your farming clients and everything like that, do you ever get a sense that they're like, yeah, we want to share this, but we don't want to come across like we're trying to rub anything in anyone's faces? Like, we're not only is Saskatchewan like a humble place, but I feel like agriculture is a humble industry. But in the day of social media, just putting something out there isn't about bragging. It's about educating, and it is about sharing your value proposition, which is very important. So, like, Ryan, like, have you noticed anything working in this kind of ag industry with that?
All the time. Yeah. You described it perfectly. It's, you want to, showcase all the cool and innovative things that you're doing, as a producer, for example, to attract and retain staff. But at the same time, you don't want to come across, braggy, because it's, from what I've been told, a bit of a tight knit community, and there's, some chitter chatter going on in the back room. So I have this conversation every 3 months about that exact thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And
what do you tell them? Like, how do you break down that feeling of, like, don't worry about it, we got to tell your story anyways?
Yeah, I guess exactly that. Like, it's not something that I guess we're, even AdSpark is a little bit more on the on the humble side, and we're kind of, working hard behind the scenes and stuff like that. So there's some, parallels there. But at the end of the day, like, in this day and time, you have to be promoting yourself, right? Because there's competition out there. So, you got to let that go a little bit, let your get out of your comfort zone a little bit, and then post that content on social media, or, maybe brag a little bit, because if you don't, your competitor will.
I was just going to say that, like, I mean, it's not like, you don't want to be like come across as bragging, but there also is an aspect, like for instance, when Mesa Group says we have 18 locations, we want to educate the population on that because we have the ability to look after customers, with our broad depth of parts, service, all that kind of stuff. We can cover a territory, but there's a little bit of an aspect to 18 locations in that we're here because we're doing it right.
Yeah.
That's the reason we got 18 locations. So, I mean, like, we're not bragging, but we kind of are saying we're here because we're doing this so well, and like, we know how to take over, and we know how to look after customers.
And why shouldn't we be proud?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Pride is the right word to use.
Pride is the right word.
At the end
100%.
of the day, my radar goes up when people are talking before doing. But when someone's accomplished something and they're just, sharing that they're proud of it, and it's authentic, and that's where I think marketing agencies, we have like a lot of experience in how to communicate things with specific tones and specific voices, as if your brand was a human. So that, there is a way to do it that's braggy and arrogant and inauthentic, and I think there is a way to do it that's very endearing, actually, and I think that's when we get down to brand voice, brand messaging, that's super important to always know that. But you got to share your story these days, because if not, you're going to get left in the dust.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
From the agriculture standpoint, so AdSpark talking to the agriculture industry, what are we not doing enough of?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Not doing enough of. Top of my head, I would probably. Oh, you got
maybe showcasing customers.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
That's what I was going to say, actually.
Okay.
I think that maybe it's because of what we just talked about, that some farmers don't want to be on camera for whatever reason. They don't want to come across as braggy.
Yeah.
But I think that there could be a lot more emphasis on leaning on those partners that you work with every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Great use of wordage, Chris, because I mean, they are partners.
Yeah.
They're no, we don't refer to them as customer. It's the politically correct term because, we have a business and we sell to customers, but they really are. And we're talking about like every farmer, they're our partners now. Yeah. Like, we're as much invested in that crop as they are. Not financially, but like for the route to success, it's as much on our shoulders, and we hold that close to our hearts. It's as much on our shoulders as on theirs, because we understand how downtime is enemy number one. Like, we want to make sure you're going as much as you're humanly possible. If it's an equipment issue, that we're going to be the first ones there. So they really are our partners. Really are our partners.
I think there's a huge opportunity for people in the ag industry to break a little bit of that age-old stigma that you have to be blue collar, grinding it, sweating out in a field, doing all this. We've talked about many times how, like, when I was in high school, my guidance counselors weren't like, why don't you get into the agriculture, mechanic industry, or why don't you get into farming? Because it was always so generationally passed down. Yeah. So what I would love to see is kind of a bit more behind the scenes about a day in the life of a farmer, and break down that stigma that it's not the way it used to be. There's a lot of tech that makes it kind of sexy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of, like, especially in the economic time we live in, people are like looking for, what career could I potentially make a great living with high demand? And right now, since I've been on this podcast, like, I just can't see anything better than the ag industry in Sask for solid income, career opportunities. Yep. And it's just, I don't think it's sold enough by other entities. So I feel like the ag industry has to own it a bit themselves and start telling those stories.
Yes.
Yeah. Further to that, I've spoken recently to a producer friend of mine about that very thing, and attracting younger, men and women to come work on the farm that didn't grow up working on a farm. Right. Mm-hmm. So the attraction there is the technology. It is, becoming more and more kind of cool, like a cool industry. You get to, ride big machines, and it's pretty neat. And on the flip side of that, he told me the same thing, that a few of his staff are older gentlemen that are retired from teaching or working at a bank or whatever, and they grew up maybe on a farm when they were younger, and they're retired, and now they just come and work seasonally because they love it so much. They love the machines and the whole camaraderie and the lifestyle and whatnot. So it's really neat to hear that.
It really is therapeutic when you're out in a combine or you're sowing a field or you're spraying. Like, I mean, to hear the hum of that engine and know that you're feeding the world, especially combining, like that's the finished product. And that's, I mean, you're taking that product to a grain elevator that's going to take it to an end user. It's going to make pasta or bread. Like, I mean, there's pride in that. Big time pride in that. And just to go what you said about, how the industry has changed, producer Jay, and that it's not a blue collar. Like, I mean, because at one point it was like, and I'll tell you, like, I mean, why is that? It has nothing to do with the size of the farm. It's just the basing it on equipment. Like, we just had fixers as customers. Like, I mean, they wore overalls, and like, I mean, if the engine broke down, they were pulling it into their own shop and they were fixing it. Whereas it's just the progression of the equipment has gone so far, and the bigger it gets, the more technology it has, the bigger engines it has. We're talking about emission standards, that sort of thing. It's not just a combustion engine with an exhaust pipe and an air intake anymore. It's like, DEF and, as I said, emission regulations, that sort of thing. So, and there's so much behind that. And again, going back to what you said about, attracting more people into the industry, like there is so much opportunity for young people to get into this industry. And and it's such a diverse opening of jobs too. Like, I mean, anything from infield, tech guys to, our office staff, sales staff, administrative staff, parts service, that sort of thing. So the story needs to be told, which is, I think, is what we're doing here, which is amazing. Yeah. What, for you two guys, speaking as marketers, what's your favorite thing to see if you're scrolling social media? Like, I mean, what catches your eye?
Oh, I spend a lot of time on social media. My wife will tell you that. Geez, like from an advertiser's perspective, I like to see comedy in ads. I talked to Jim about this the other day. I think comedy in ads is kind of the hardest thing to pull off.
It is.
Because there's a fine line between like boring and not funny and like offensive.
Yeah.
So when an ad can find, a compelling way to be funny to everybody, I think I understand the risk that they took to get there. So anytime I see anything like that, that's going to make me laugh is usually something that I'll ship over to Jim after I hear it. So yeah.
How do we turn this into?
I love it.
How do we turn this into something for Mazer Group and agriculture and Turnin Dirt? No, I'm with you.
I think brands are scared to use humor because I think they are too. Humor devalues the professionalism they're trying to portray.
Yeah.
But there's a human side of marketing that, professionalism aside, if you can share something that hits people with an emotion, whether it's humor or other sentimental emotions, it actually is more effective.
Yeah.
So professionalism is like something you might want to portray in the boardroom, but in marketing, you're trying to actually draw attention and hit someone's emotion.
Yeah.
So humor's, I don't know if there's a better way to do that than that, but it's also, like Chris said, I think the hardest thing to pull off.
Yes. Being professionally funny.
If you want me to write an ad that makes you feel sad or an emotion of pride, I can do that in 5 minutes. If you want me to write an ad that's funny, I don't think I've made one yet in 15 years. Maybe a couple, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
We need that feather in the cap.
Yeah.
Yes,
funny ad,
100%.
Sure.
Yeah. And they're coming.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan?
The comedy aspect for sure is a good one. I kind of lean to the cleverness side of things. We were actually looking at a billboard earlier today that's very smart and clever, I would say. Just something that's a little more out of the box that kind of makes you, really think or, drops the jaw a little bit.
Yeah. So out there, like kind of.
Yeah. The example of this one, I'll describe it.
Yeah.
You
Just
can tell me if you think it's clever or not, but it was a billboard for a movie called Dracula. I think the billboard was probably 10, 15 years old or whatnot. And it had the Dracula like branding, the movie branding on it. It was just a white background. And then it had knives that looked like they were like stuck into the billboard and like dripping a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of spooky and whatnot and vampire related. But the interesting thing is that where the billboard was located, when the sun, the way the sun was setting or the way the sun was sitting, it would cast a shadow, and it would when it cast the shadow on the knives on the billboard, it actually created a silhouette shadow of a vampire's face.
Come on.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Come on.
Yeah.
We'll put it on the screen.
It's
Yeah,
outstanding.
yeah. If you can find that and throw it up, I need to see
I've
this.
seen many of them. I really like billboards. I think it's
I like billboards too.
an interesting and difficult way to get a message across properly.
Yeah.
Billboards are great because like you have 7 seconds to say whatever you're saying. So
That's right, yeah.
If you can concise your message into 7 seconds or
Yeah.
whatever, or that one sentence,
Yeah.
then you've got a good ad.
Yeah.
That's a test of a good ad.
Yeah, there is one in the metropolis of Sintoluta on number 1 here.
Yeah.
There's probably like 8 people that live in actually. But there's a billboard right outside of it. I'm not sure if it's not up because I pass it all the time. I think it's a seasonal ad, but it's for farm insurance. And they've actually got an auger out there, and they put a hole in the billboard and stick the
I've
auger
seen
right
that
through
one.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
See,
So
that's
I
great.
thought it was genius, you know, like that they back the auger through the billboard and that they're advertising insurance.
Well,
for
one of the
farm.
best examples of that is just those Pattison signs you see on a bus stop, and once you look at it, it'll just say, "See, this works." Like, It's almost proven concept that you noticed it, and it just says, "See, you're looking at it. It works." You know.
Yeah.
I think it's creative. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, I'm not recommending bus ads or anything to anyone, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's also you're talking about Pattison, the billboards, not Pattison Egg, the John Deere dealer.
Oh,
right?
fair enough. Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
But had to get that in.
Chris,
although the same guy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, you bring up double entendres a lot.
Yeah.
And we were in Sarnia traveling for a client, and you saw that refined fool.
Yeah, I love
So,
that.
so can you explain like what a double entendre?
Sure, yeah.
kinda
Like
is?
I love plays on words. When you can like fully synthesize a message into one thing. So we're in Sarnia and we're at this brewery called Refined Fools was what it's called.
Refined Fool was a brewery. Davis was a restaurant.
Okay, so yeah, we're at this brewery. Great beer, by the way. It was awesome. And if you don't know Sarnia, it's an oil and gas town.
Okay.
So Refined Fools, it's obviously not giving a nod to refineries because literally if you work there, you probably work a refinery.
Yeah.
And then fools are drinking at a bar. It's I think it was just a great brand and the
And to be refined is kind of an oxymoron
Exactly.
to what you would expect
Yeah.
out of refinery.
Right, yeah.
It is rough. It is like go. It's safety. Like it's everything.
Yeah.
So that's the double entendre
Yeah.
we kind of liked about
yeah,
it.
that was good. You synthesized that better than I did. I think I was a couple Refined Fools when I mentioned that. But
Yeah, fair
a
enough.
couple deep, but yeah. No.
Double entendre.
Double entendre.
Man,
double meaning.
You could
kinda.
sewer somebody in a game of Scrabble with that word.
Oh yeah, imagine entendre.
Entendre.
I couldn't spell it. No.
I couldn't spell it either. No. Double entendre.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good ad though. Refined Fools.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's cool.
Are we doing segments today?
I just want to break out a couple questions
Yeah.
for you guys. Ryan touched on this Dracula ad that I'll put on the screen, and so he answered the question. But my question is, what is the most memorable or favorite piece of marketing that you've ever seen?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I kind of touched on before on how like comedy is like that gets me right away, and that reels me in. So like my favorite ad that I can think of right now, I've got a couple, but like, do you guys remember that Kmart ad, "Ship My Pants"?
Ship my pants? Right here? Ship my pants, you're kidding. You can ship your pants right here. You hear that? I can ship my pants for free.
Wow, I just may ship my pants.
Yeah, ship your pants. Billy, you can ship your pants too.
I can't wait to ship my pants, Dad.
I just shipped my pants, and it's very convenient.
Very convenient.
I just shipped my drawers.
I just shipped my nightie.
I just shipped my bed. If you can't find what you're looking for in store, we'll find it at Kmart.com right now and ship it to you for free.
No.
Ship.
Yeah.
Ship.
It was when they were getting
Ship.
into online.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
it was just like 15 years ago. Exactly. That's the whole point of the joke. So like, for your listeners, if they don't remember it, it was like just a guy standing there in a Kmart, and he's like, "Ship my pants?" That's the question. And then the Kmart employee's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll ship your pants right now." And then they just build off that. They're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna ship my bed, and I'm gonna ship my drawers." And it's goofy, funny, and it's like it's lowbrow humor. But I'm like, I'm thinking of it from my perspective as a marketer. The guy who pitched that ad to the Kmart board, like what a vision to get that through and get that across those guys that this is, we're $1 billion brand, not $1 billion, but $1 million brand, and we're gonna swear on TV on broadcast and not really swear, and we're gonna be tongue in cheek, and it's gonna go over well.
Yeah.
And that went over well. Sometimes when people get a little offensive, they're backpedaling, but to have the courage to go and do that and the vision to see it through. That's why
I
like that.
remember like a lot of people sharing that, being like, "You guys have to," see, and it's Kmart.
Sure. Yeah.
None of these influencers care about Kmart as
No.
a brand, but when your brand, what's the word, rises above your branding or your marketing rises above your brand, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of stuff on Instagram, like KFC, Wendy's does a lot of like
Wendy's,
the
On Twitter,
the fast food industry. They do a lot of And what is it that KFC has their recipe is like 7 herbs and spices?
They follow on Twitter.
Yeah, they follow 12 guys named Herb, I think.
No,
on
it's
Twitter.
no. So it's KFC's I think menu is 7 herbs and spices.
Sure, yeah.
So they follow on Twitter
yeah.
7 guys named Herb and then the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's it. That's genius, bro.
I love that stuff.
Oh, that's good.
That Canadian Tire, I don't know if it was an ad, but that video you sent a couple months ago for Canadian Tire, how it says like that guy's just walking through Canadian Tire saying how nothing's organized and it's super expensive and it doesn't make sense. Remember that one?
No. I used to work at Canadian Tire too.
Or maybe you sent it to Sean and Jim and then they sent it to me or something.
No, I don't remember.
I don't remember this.
It came from
It
you
was-
originally.
sure it was
Or
Canadian
Jared.
Tire?
It was Jared.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pretty funny stuff, actually.
Yeah.
So what? So he was walking through.
So it's like a parody or something. This guy's like walking through Canadian Tire, and it made me think of it because I was at Canadian Tire on the phone with Jared.
Yeah.
He's like, "Have you ever seen this video?" Chris shared it with me, I think.
Yeah.
And he sent it to me, and it's basically this guy's talking about Canadian Tire. He's like, "Oh yeah, look, and like you can buy these belts, and it's like super expensive." And he's going through Canadian Tire, how it's so random,
Oh, yeah.
unorganized, it
was
makes
my-
no sense,
that
and
was my-
freaking
yeah.
expensive.
That was my first job was at Canadian Tire, and I love Canadian Tire. I won't ever.
Yeah.
But I'm going to shit on it a little bit. But like, they had the most random stuff there.
Oh, yeah.
And people would come in and be like, "Hey, do you have this black belt?" I'm like, "We're Canadian Tire. I'm sure we do, but why are you coming here to buy a black belt?"
Yeah.
So then I'll be like, "I'm gonna go look for it. I know we're not gonna find it, so I'm just gonna go downstairs and wait around for 50 minutes until they leave." Bad employee. Yeah. Probably should have been fired from that job, but yeah. That
Can't
back-
fire you
back in
now.
high school. Yeah.
Oh,
There's
that's
this
amazing.
ad. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but it's for a dentist office. And it's a picture of a guy with his kids and family, and he's missing a tooth. And he's also missing an eyebrow. And the ad says, having nice teeth is important because you didn't even realize this guy was missing an eyebrow. And because you look right at the teeth.
It's
and,
such
and
a.
your brain doesn't even go up to check if he has 2 eyebrows. But then when you
Yeah.
pull back after reading it, you're like, the guy's fully missing an eyebrow and he looks like a psycho. But it's such like when an ad hits you and it just proves the point so quick.
Yeah.
Like I just love when a point can be proven in the least amount of words. I think that's super talent.
Yeah.
That's super talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the best part of the job. Is
Yeah.
coming up with so many things clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there one notable that you've come up with that we can share?
That's the humbleness. I can't think of. There's a couple that come to mind that I haven't released yet, which is unfortunate.
Okay, you
that I
leave
think
those
are-
alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that are good to go. But none that are coming to mind. Do you have any?
I mean, I've had a few marketing pieces I'm proud of. I don't think I've ever hit something that is, that would change marketing yet.
Right.
But I think, to be quite honest with you, a lot of times you're working within the confines of someone else's brand.
Of course. Yeah.
And until you have like full freedom to really take a risk, I don't know if we'd get there. But I mean, we have small creative ideas that we could come up with all the time. You can come up with all the creative ideas in the world, but until someone's like, that's usable for our brand,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're limited. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you got a running list of stuff that you guys think of?
I've got a little list.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of ideas I'd like to roll out one day.
Oh man, see if you can adapt anything because even that we can use Turnin dirt as a kind of jump off point because like I'm with you and we said this. I think we all said this. Like comedy is the hardest thing to integrate into marketing. So I mean, if you can touch that, like
it is. It's not only that like it's hard. You gotta have like good talent. You gotta have good actors, and you gotta be willing to spend the money and take the risk. So there's a lot there that people don't see.
Yeah.
My last question for these guys is what's better, Coke or Pepsi? Chris, you first.
Coke.
Pepsi.
Okay. I'm Coke.
I'm Coke. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying I don't like Pepsi. Like anytime I go to a restaurant, I'll say I'll have a Coke or Pepsi, whatever you got.
Yeah, I'm not really.
But like if we're choosing, Coke or Pepsi's just got more of it's like more sweeter or something.
Yeah.
Well, haven't you heard the new tagline that Coke just launched?
What?
Coke, it's the flat Pepsi.
Oh, stop.
Oh, shut up.
It's got more bite than Honey, your dog, bro. My last question is controversial with me and my friends, but I got to know. Go to basketball.
Oh, no.
Michael Jordan or LeBron James on the record?
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Braun.
There it is.
I think
Really?
that's generational. Like
Yeah.
I'm a couple years younger than Ryan.
Yeah.
Quite a few, I'd say. But that's I think I'm at the cutoff point of like Braun being the GOAT. I'm right at that age. I think I'm 36. I think if you're born in late 80s, you're in between. If you're born in the early 80s, you're a LeBron or a Jordan guy.
Yeah.
And everybody else is a LeBron guy. But eventually, I think it's all going to land on LeBron. I think.
Yeah.
Because he's playing right now. Once he retires, give it 10 years.
Yeah. How far into his career is he right now?
It'll be.
You're
This is the
20?
thing. You're right. It's generational. So if you have to pick one, I'm going to pick Jordan. But it's generational. So Jordan of his generation, LeBron of his. In 10 years, there's going to be someone else.
Well, I don't think there'll going to be. We don't. This is a podcast. Not to talk about this, but I don't think there'll be anybody like LeBron for a while. So I don't think so. A 20-year.
I welcome this.
Giannis
I
ain't
welcome
that.
this kind of conversation. By the way,
Luka ain't that.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards.
Kevin Durant wasn't that. Like if
Anthony
Kevin
Edwards.
Durant couldn't
He's
be.
Anthony Edwards isn't gonna be a top 10 player of all time. He's had 3 seasons. Yeah, he's
We'll see.
okay.
Look at him. He's trying to push his card collection right now.
Yeah, you got a lot of Anthony Edwards cards. Yeah.
oh, it's good. Do you have both LeBron and Jordan card?
Yes.
Nice.
And Anthony Edwards.
Who the hell's that?
Plays for Minnesota.
Okay.
He's good.
Like I'm like
He's a young guy.
really
Yeah.
good.
I'm not knocking basketball at all. It's just like I don't watch like sports in general.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, like
Yeah.
I'll watch all the season-ending games and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a car racing guy, but
Yeah.
So
I love LeBron, by the way.
yeah.
Didn't Michael Jordan, just buy a car racing team and win a championship?
He's in NASCAR. Like he's
Okay.
a team owner in NASCAR, and Denny Hamlin own 2311 Racing. So they've got 2 cars, 2 drivers, that sort of thing. I'm not sure of their win, if they've won a championship or not, but no, he's an owner.
Is F1 racing considered a sport in terms of like, I know that I was in a conversation of best athlete of all time.
Yeah.
And Michael Schumacher came up.
Okay.
And I was trying, my dad used to build race cars actually back in the day. So I kind of am sensitive to this, but I was like, is a race car driver an athlete?
Well, they are, but like there's a couple things here. One, if we're talking best athlete of all time, athlete has to be like well-rounded and like there has to be athleticism to them, you know, like, I mean, whereas like Michael Schumacher was an insane driver, you know,
But there is athleticism in driving at
there
that
is
speed,
like, I
right?
mean, you have to be in good shape. Absolutely. But like, I wouldn't say he's the best athlete in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, they're not the best athletes. Probably not even close, but they are athletes, and it is incredibly difficult to drive any race car, let alone an F1 car.
Yeah.
But I did see a video the other day. It was
Lewis Hamilton.
No, it was Tyreek Hill, the wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, and which F1 guy was it? Who's the guy
Verstappen?
who's the guy that just went was with McLaren? Their young guy for McLaren.
Was with McLaren.
Or is with McLaren.
Is Lando Norris?
Yeah, Lando Norris, I think. So they played that game where you like drop the tennis. You have your
and
hands
you got to
like
catch.
this,
Yep.
and you drop the tennis ball and have to catch it.
Yep.
Lando Norris, quicker hands than Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
for sure they
So
would
what
be,
is the key athletic skill that a driver needs? Is it like processing speed?
Well, I think eye-hand coordination is huge.
It's
like,
also
and
it's also conditioning and core.
Yeah.
Like I saw a video of Lewis Hamilton talking about like how he loses like 5 pounds a race.
Yep.
And it's got a big buck. 'Cause he's got to like withstand the G-force of I can't remember what it was like a rocket ship every 2 hours. So
yeah, they get to 6 Gs in those
Yeah.
cars. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, crazy enough, like your neck muscle is like super important because they brake so hard that like you need to have the neck power to hold your head up.
Well, they don't look like specimens. When I see
No,
them,
that's just it. Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
specimens, but you're right. They're probably have those certain muscles in the core, the neck, the lower body to really
Unrivaled to any
maneuver
other
with the
athlete,
car and to control the car, right? Because you got to be in control the whole time.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, and going at the speeds they are like, and I mean, there's a video of I think it's Pierre Gasly. He is driving, and it shows why. It shows him doing that exercise or whatever with the tennis balls, and then it asked the question, why do they need to do this? And he's coming down a racetrack, and a car goes out of the way, and there's a car stopped in the middle of the track, and like split second, like had to weave around him, and that's conditioning is that. So yeah.
Yeah, I tried driving with Ryan when he hasn't eaten. It's like it's so dangerous.
It's just like
You can win any race
Like,
that's out there. Yeah.
oh no, it's awful. You can't get anywhere.
I love it.
I'm like F4.
F4. It's still really competitive. F13, F14, something like that.
F4.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Gentlemen-
that's it for me, guys.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on.
us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. Best episode ever.
Yes, ever. Yeah, we're hoping so anyway. But yeah, thanks again, guys. Love to have you back. We'll come back in a year. Hopefully, you'll be done some more. We will have done some more with Turnin Dirt, but most notably Mazer Group. So, have some stories to tell.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.